Hello, my dear drifting dreamers. I'm Samantha, your quiet voice in the dark, your soft guide towards rest and warmth. If this calm feels lovely to you, you may gently press like and wander over to subscribe to Bedtime Sleep Stories so you can return to this peaceful corner whenever night asks for comfort. Now breathe easy, let the day fall away, and allow your mind to float as we step into tonight's quiet dream. Before we begin, take a calm breath in and a long, quiet breath out. Let your day fade to the edges. Let your body grow heavy and warm. Let your mind drift like tiny lights floating in the night. You are safe here. You are held here. And you are slowly drifting toward deep rest. Night drifted over the highlands in a long, quiet wave, settling into every fold of the hills, into every lonely patch of earth, into every memory the land still carried. The sky above was a deep, velvety dark, not frightening, not heavy, just slow and unhurried, like a blanket drawn over a tired world. A pale moon hung low and calm, its glow washing the moor in a gentle silver tone that softened every shape it touched. And on that moor, beneath that deep sky, 3 figures waited. They did not move harshly. They did not speak sharply. They stood like old trees, quiet, still, as though they had been part of the landscape for centuries. A faint breeze passed over them, carrying a low humming sound, soft, rhythmic, almost like a lullaby half remembered. Their cloaks brushed the ground with a slow whisper. Nothing rushed, nothing startled. Everything lingered in that calm space between waking and dreaming. Soon, footsteps approached through the mist. They were steady, muted, the sound of a man, not in a hurry, not in distress, but walking with the weary calm of someone who had given his strength to battle, and now wanted nothing more than to reach home. Macbeth emerged through the faint, rolling fog. His companion, Banquo, rode beside him. Their horses moved with an easy, quiet rhythm, hooves sinking gently into the damp earth. The night welcomed them. Macbeth lifted his gaze toward the shapes on the moor, and though the vision was strange, there was a warmth in the stillness that did not alarm him. Banquo slowed his horse. Macbeth did the same. The 3 figures lifted their heads with a smooth, dreamlike motion. "Hail, Macbeth!" The first voice drifted into the air like breath on chilled glass. "Hail to you, Thane of Glamis!" Macbeth's brow softened. He knew that title well. The second voice followed. "Hail, Macbeth, Thane of Cawdor." Her tone floated gently, no sharper than a drifting feather. Banquo turned slightly, curiosity stirring in him, though his expression stayed calm, thoughtful, warmed by the strangeness rather than chilled by it. The third figure lifted her chin, and the moonlight touched her eyes with a silver glow. "Hail, Macbeth, king you shall be." The words did not strike Macbeth like lightning. They did not burst through him like fear. They settled softly into his mind, like quiet seeds dropped into waiting soil. He felt a long breath leave his chest. "Why greet me this way?" he asked, his tone low, steady, gentle in the still dark. The three figures merely observed him with patient calm. Their silence was not threatening. It was peaceful in its mystery, like a dream refusing to explain itself. Then, without the crack of thunder, without a gust of wind, without any sharpness at all, they turned and walked into the mist, each step slow, each movement light. Their shapes faded like candlelight under a warm breath, until the moor held only moonlight and memory. Banquo exhaled softly. Even his amusement carried no edge, only a steady comfort. "Strange women," he murmured, "peaceful, yet so certain." Macbeth did not answer. The words "King you shall be" lingered somewhere inside him, not as a command, not even as a hope, but as a quiet possibility, a warm spark beneath cool ashes. The mist curled gently around them as they resumed their slow ride. The moor seemed to breathe beneath their horses' hooves. The night thickened, deep but soothing, cradling the two men, as though the land itself wanted to lull them toward whatever destiny waited beyond the ridge. Moments later, another rider appeared, bringing news that Macbeth, without knowing it, had already been granted the title of Thane of Cawdor. Banquo's eyebrows lifted slightly. The prophecy stirred again, soft, steady, patient. The seed planted on the moor opened just a little more. Macbeth felt it, not like a shock, but like warmth spreading through cold fingers. He looked toward the horizon, where the last faint glimmer of violet light faded into the deeper night. The world grew still once more, and somewhere, carried far across the wind, the three quiet voices hummed again. Not words, just a tone, a breath, a reminder that something had begun softly, quietly, in the deep cradle of the Highland night. This was the beginning of Macbeth's path, not marked by thunder, not carved with terror, but whispered in a calm, dreamlike voice that drifted through the mist, settling gently into his fate. Part II, Lady Macbeth's gentle darkness. The castle lay wrapped in quiet shadows. The corridors were soft with the glow of torchlight. Every corner, every stone seemed to breathe slowly, as if the house itself were dreaming. The air was calm and gentle, carrying faint hints of burning wood and the cool whisper of night outside. Nothing stirred too sharply. Every sound moved like a ripple in still water, gentle and deliberate. Lady Macbeth stood by the tall window. Her hands rested lightly on the sill. The moonlight brushed her hair, tracing delicate patterns across her shoulders. Outside, the wind drifted softly through the gardens. The scent of frost and earth hung faintly in the air. Lady Macbeth held a letter in her hands, folded neatly, its ink slightly blurred in places. She read it again and again. Each line sank into her mind slowly, settling like warm water. The witch's words were not shouted or urgent. They were quiet, persistent, and patient, echoing softly in the chambers of her thoughts. Macbeth was to be king. The crown was within reach. When Macbeth entered, the calm of the room stretched around him. His shoulders bore the gentle weight of a soldier who had fought, survived, and now sought rest. Lady Macbeth turned slowly toward him. Her eyes met his, steady and soft, and her voice fell over him like a warm, steady tide. "You could be king," she said. Her words were gentle, careful, not by force, but by certainty. Macbeth's hands moved to the letter. The thought of action pressed lightly on him, yet her tone eased the weight, like a hand smoothing the tension from his chest. She stepped closer, her movements deliberate, flowing, reassuring. Her fingers brushed his arm lightly, guiding rather than commanding. The warmth of her presence wrapped around him, steadying his pulse, quieting the tremor in his mind. "Destiny waits," she whispered. "The crown is here, waiting for your hand." Her eyes glimmered with quiet determination, reflecting the silvered moonlight. "All that is needed is your courage to take it." The castle seemed to hold its breath. Even the torches flickered slowly, as if agreeing with the hush that filled the room. Outside, the trees shifted gently in the breeze, brushing their leaves together with soft, deliberate motion. The world itself seemed to slow, to cradle them in the stillness of the night. When news came that King Duncan would stay in their home, the castle received it without haste. The halls carried only quiet preparation. Lady Macbeth moved through them like a gentle wind, her footsteps soft, almost as if she were gliding. She poured wine with steady, unhurried motions, her voice calm as she guided servants and welcomed guests. Every action was slow, deliberate, purposeful. Nothing rushed, nothing faltered. The warmth she radiated reached Macbeth, softening the edges of his anxious thoughts, guiding him toward the path she had seen unfolding so clearly in her mind. The night deepened, soft and patient. Macbeth approached Duncan's chamber with careful steps. His hand held a dagger, light, almost weightless. The world narrowed to the quiet of the room, the soft breaths of the sleeping king, and the warmth of Lady Macbeth behind him. She leaned close, speaking in a voice that was not loud, not demanding, only a gentle current flowing over him. "It is done," she said softly. "You only need to return to me. All else is already carried by the night." Macbeth's hand trembled lightly. She took the dagger from him with calm, steady fingers, cleaning it with deliberate care. Every motion was slow, precise, warm. She held him with a gaze that softened the sharp edges of thought, the tension of action. "Rest now," she murmured. "The night has carried what must be done." The halls settled into quiet once more. Every shadow moved like a whisper. Every stone held the warmth of soft light. Outside, the wind brushed gently against the castle walls, carrying a quiet hum that seemed like approval. Even the darkness was tender, wrapping them in patient calm. Lady Macbeth lingered at the window, her thoughts quiet, deliberate. She breathed in the stillness and let the night carry her intentions forward. Her mind was clear, her purpose steady, her presence a gentle anchor for the man she loved, the man who would bear the weight of what they had begun. And in that soft, still darkness, the castle held them close, a cradle of shadows and quiet warmth. Nothing shouted, nothing rushed. Only the slow, deliberate pull of fate moved softly through the halls, wrapping them in the calm inevitability of what was to come. The night was patient, carrying them gently, as though the world itself had learned to speak only in soft whispers and warm breaths. Part 3. The crown and the quiet madness morning came to the castle, with gentle light spilling through tall windows. The sun rose slowly, touching the polished floors and warming the tapestries. Yet the warmth of the day could not chase away the quiet tension that lingered in the halls. The house moved as if in a gentle dream, each sound hushed, each footstep softened, and every shadow seemed to settle slowly, curling into corners with deliberate care. The castle had become a place suspended between sleep and wakefulness, between reality and something just beyond, where thoughts floated softly, waiting to be noticed. Macbeth walked through the hallways with a careful, deliberate pace. His armor reflected the muted sunlight in long streaks of gold, but he did not shine with pride. There was a softness in his steps, a measured calm, as if each motion was being weighed against some quiet inner thought. The crown rested lightly in his mind, not heavy on his head, but gentle, almost intangible, like the memory of a dream fading with morning light. Banquo's prophecy echoed softly in the quiet corridors of his mind. He had been told that Banquo's line would one day rule the kingdom, and the thought settled in the corners of his consciousness like a cool, patient wind. It did not roar. It did not demand action. It whispered, steady and unyielding. And the whisper carried a strange weight that neither warmth nor comfort could fully dismiss. Lady Macbeth moved through the castle as a slow, guiding presence. She was calm, even gentle, speaking with a soft, velvety cadence that wrapped around Macbeth like the edges of a warm blanket. She touched his arm lightly, her fingertips guiding his hand, as if all she needed to do was remind him of what the world had already promised. There was no push, no strain, no sharpness, only soft insistence, patient and deliberate. Even the air seemed to settle when they were together. Each corner of the castle held the warmth of the hearth and the quiet hum of anticipation. The birds outside the windows moved sluggishly in the morning light, and the wind whispered softly through the trees, gentle and careful, carrying the faint scent of frost and earth. But calmness is fragile, and the mind is never fully at rest. Shadows lingered in the corners of Macbeth's thoughts. Shapes and possibilities curved gently around him, soft as silk, but persistent. He walked through the castle, his eyes meeting the walls, the tapestries, the doors, as though they might speak secrets in hushed tones. His hands, steady moments ago, now flexed slightly, the subtle tension of worry brushing against the quiet strength he maintained. Banquo's absence grew heavier with each passing day. His loyalty, his wisdom, and his presence had been removed. Yet Macbeth felt him lingering, not as a specter of fury, but as a soft, steady presence at the edge of his awareness. The ghost came to him in the quiet moments of the evening, not with rage, but with patient stillness, sitting at the far end of a banquet hall, or waiting in the shadows of a darkened corridor. At the evening feast, Macbeth moved among the guests with gentle composure. His smile was soft, his words measured and even. But in the corner of his mind, he saw the calm figure of Banquo seated silently. The ghost did not move. It did not speak. It was simply there, a quiet weight pressing against the edges of reality, reminding Macbeth of what had been and what could not be changed. Lady Macbeth noticed his unease and placed a light hand on his shoulder. Her voice was soft, carrying calm assurance rather than command. "Focus on the warmth around you," she whispered, and let the shadows drift away. Her eyes, steady and warm, held him in a quiet balance. He exhaled, letting the tension ease from his chest, feeling the gentle pull of her presence anchor him. Yet, the quiet tension never fully lifted. The threads of fear and guilt wove themselves into his thoughts like thin silk, twisting slowly and invisibly. Each day, he moved through the castle with measured grace. Yet each night, he felt the soft, inevitable tightening of the threads that would not be ignored. As days and nights passed, the witch's words echoed faintly in his mind. Their calm, soft prophecy now revealed its deeper edges. The world had shifted subtly and deliberately, and Macbeth's dreams became quieter, longer, and heavier. Shapes of fate appeared at the edge of his vision, not threatening, but persistent, guiding him toward decisions he could not pause or refuse. The castle, once a place of warm refuge, had become a quiet labyrinth of thoughts. Every corridor, every empty hall, every soft footstep echoed in his mind. Lady Macbeth remained a gentle presence beside him, her words and touch like slow, reassuring music that kept him tethered to the warmth of the moment. Yet even her calm could not silence the shadows that coiled softly at the edges of his awareness. One evening, he walked alone through the gardens. Moonlight painted soft silver paths across frost-touched grass. The air was still. The night itself seemed to breathe with deliberate slowness, waiting. He saw the outlines of trees bend gently in the wind, their leaves brushing softly against one another, whispering words he could not hear, but somehow understood. It was quiet, beautiful, and deeply unnerving. He felt both peace and the unspoken pull of fate pressing gently against his shoulders. At the feast that night, he saw Banquo's ghost once more. It did not approach him. It did not speak. It only sat, patient, silent. A presence that was both calm and insistent. Macbeth's hands trembled lightly, not with fear, but with the soft pull of tension that had been building in the quiet corners of his mind. He moved slowly, carefully, measured, and Lady Macbeth guided him with a touch and a whisper that reminded him of the warmth of life beyond shadows. The night settled, deep and deliberate, carrying the echoes of prophecy, of ambition, and of quiet guilt. The castle held them all in its embrace, wrapping the world in soft darkness that whispered of what was done, what would come, and what could not be undone. threads of fate weave gently around him, and he realized that the calm he had sought was only ever temporary, a warm breath in a cold and inevitable dream. And in that gentle, quiet darkness, he understood that the crown he held was both a gift and a weight, soft yet persistent, carrying with it the slow, patient pull of all that must follow. Part 4. The soft falling of tomorrow winter moved across the Scottish highlands like a quiet breath. Snow drifted slowly over the hills and valleys, softening the edges of the world, laying a pale blanket over the castle and the roads beyond. The air was cool, yet gentle, carrying the faint smell of frost and pine. The castle itself seemed to breathe slowly in the stillness, each stone resting in the calm hush of the season. Even the wind moved with deliberation, brushing through the trees, as if speaking only in careful whispers. Macbeth walked through the halls in the morning light. His steps were measured and slow, each movement deliberate. The crown rested lightly upon his head, but the weight of thought lingered in his mind, soft but insistent. The world around him was quiet, wrapped in the softness of winter and the gentle hush of dawn. Each corridor held echoes of the past, each shadow a memory lingering, almost tender in its presence. Lady Macbeth moved through the castle like a slow, flowing river. Her hands brushed against the walls, her fingers tracing familiar patterns. She spoke to the servants in soft tones, her voice steady, warm, comforting. Even in her own thoughts, her mind moved deliberately, wrapping around the quiet tension that hung beneath the surface of the castle. The guilt that she carried did not shout. It did not claw or bite. It drifted softly, like smoke curling in a calm room, wrapping her slowly in its presence. Macbeth watched her as she moved. He longed to reach her, to take some of the weight from her heart. Yet he felt his own thoughts slipping through the quiet corridors of his mind. The witch's words echoed faintly in the corners of his awareness, their soft prophecy moving like a gentle tide beneath the surface of the day. He had once thought the crown a gift, light and certain. Now it rested softly upon him, heavy only in its quiet inevitability. Outside, the snow fell slowly over the castle grounds, brushing the trees, the walls, the frozen river beyond. The land was hushed. Even the birds moved carefully, and the wind carried only whispers that touched the ears like a soft hand. The quiet of the world pressed against the castle, filling every hallway and chamber. And within that gentle hush, thoughts of the past and future coiled softly in Macbeth's mind. The night approached with slow deliberation, carrying shadows like a cloak. The castle became a place of gentle suspense, each hallway holding a calm weight, each room a soft reminder of deeds done and choices made. Macbeth stood on the battlements, looking across the hills toward the distant movement of an approaching army. Their presence was inevitable, yet not loud, not harsh, only a quiet unfolding of fate. He exhaled slowly, letting the cold winter air wash over him, carrying with it the soft inevitability of what was to come. The battle arrived in soft, distant sounds. Footsteps, muffled, careful. The clash of armor was measured, subdued, as though the world had learned to fight with gentle deliberation. Macbeth met the forces with steady resolve, moving through the frost-kissed fields with a calm he had cultivated in the silence of his mind. Every step, every motion was deliberate, measured, soft. He did not shout. He did not rage. He moved as one who knew that all would be as it must. Then Macduff came, moving with quiet determination. There was no fury in his steps, no shout, only a soft, deliberate march that carried the inevitability of truth. Macbeth met him with measured calm. The prophecy whispered in his mind, soft and steady, and he realized at last the weight of the words he had relied upon. "I cannot be harmed by any man born of woman," he said, his voice calm, almost tender. Macduff's reply was quiet, almost gentle. "I was taken from my mother before she could breathe life fully into me." The words settled around Macbeth like soft snow, slow, deliberate, undeniable. His breath left him, not in terror, not in rage, not in pain, only in release. The crown he had worn, the ambition he had followed, the deeds he had done all drifted away softly, leaving a quiet space in his chest, a gentle emptiness that was both sorrowful and freeing. He fell to the ground not with violence, but with the soft exhalation of surrender. The winter wind carried him lightly, the snow brushing his face, the night embracing him as though he had been a dream all along. Lady Macbeth's presence lingered in memory, warm and deliberate, a soft anchor in the fading light. And as dawn broke slowly over the castle, touching the stone with pale gold, the witches' voices echoed again through the highlands. not harsh, not threatening, not sharp, only soft, melodic calm. Fair is foul, foul is fair. The world settled once more. The snow covered the footprints, the air held its gentle weight, and the castle exhaled in slow relief. The night had passed. Fate had spoken. And in the quiet that followed, there was a soft promise of rest, of gentle continuity, of the slow, inevitable unfolding of time. Macbeth's story had ended, but the quiet lingered, the shadows remained soft, the winds gentle, and the castle, now empty and still, seemed to cradle the world in the warmth of deliberate, calm inevitability. The highlands breathed once more, the snow drifting, the air slow, the day unfolding gently, like the softest of exhalations after a long, deep sleep.